Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today we are playing The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and when we last left off, we had visited our suspect here in the jail cell, and now it is time to go visit the scene of the crime, or alleged crime. I don't know. Let's check it out and see what we can discover. 19th of February, Briar Road. I see a broken down bicycle. Alright, so this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruto. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruto, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I've never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Hehe, of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your hattie dreams come true. Alright. Oh, it's our potato eating guy again. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trails. I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been holding to the cells, then. What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The book's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Alright, so can we say anything to him? Let's ask about Scotland Yard. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yep, raps on the windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. So he's like the city alarm clock? I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my! And I suppose in between all of those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well? And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. Oh dear. I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Alright, what about the case? It happened at around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago. Just there, on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that that lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in a hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's yard policy to give lawyers, defendant suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. Okay. Nice. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countryman. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but... But just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I mean, that's true. Stranger things have happened. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now. If it was foggy, how did they see him? That's what I want to know. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. A policeman. That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby, catching them banging the act and all that. Alright. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Maybe? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like in court tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that, then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. Of course not. That would be... I don't think they do that, so... A policeman witnessed the incident? As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Alright. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect? I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The color has drained from his cheeks. Alright, we'll have to ask about that. Let's talk about the trial first. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. But is it, though? It is all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
But now he's appeared in 2 cases. And the only people he usually ever bothers with are the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals?
The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So, this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it? Alright, now what about Mr. Sholmes? This should be good. He's back to serious mode. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings.
I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes's inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle-faddle!
Oh!
The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he?
He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble!
Oh.
Ever seen this before? Oh yes, that's the Rance magazine.
The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its story. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all. They don't like him at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public, thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. Really?
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Alright. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective.
Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes. What is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak to him about this.
By him, do you mean Sherlock Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even, so how... It's Baker Street! How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. 221 B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable.
Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage.
So we're to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Oh boy. Alright, well, is there anything we can examine here anyways? We got a snowman here.
Hehe, what a delightful snowman.
I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though.
Oh, it has a scarf, look.
You need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one.
I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment too. We certainly can't afford a scarf.
Surely the snowman wouldn't miss his. The snowman here wouldn't miss his.
But the person who made the snowman certainly would.
Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Alright, what else do we got? We got this carriage here. Is this the police carriage?
Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals.
You're very well informed, aren't you?
It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London.
Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then.
But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it, wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone.
No. I wasn't serious. Oh, man. Alright, what else do we got? Anything around here? We've got that guy. What is he doing? This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred.
Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it?
That's true. I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Behind the snowman, maybe? Oi, what are you foreigners doing here?
Ah!
Oh, we, just investigating the... Conspiring with that mustache fellow from Japan, are ya? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you an hiding. Go on! Right then.
He shoot us away like rats.
Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think.
What a disappointing experience.
Alright, so we explored that. Can we actually talk to him, I wonder? Let's see. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons.
I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern.
Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on.
Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all.
Alright. Well, I guess let's go ahead and move to Sholmes's Suite. 221B Baker Street, the home and office of the most famous detective in the world.
Can we really visit, do you think? Oh, pinch me. I'm sure I must be dreaming.
Here we go. Time to face him again. Oh boy. Baker Street, here we come.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again.
All right. 221.
This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Oh boy, it's very fancy. Fancy smancy. Alright, well here we go. 19th February, 12:53 p.m. Sholmes' Suite. Where is he? So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Where is he? Is it as described in the stories, Mr. Sato? Sato-san? She's in bliss.
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So, if you don't mind...
She's just gonna bask in it.
I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please don't mind me.
She's obsessed, for real. Yep, she definitely is. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't at home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? Oh, it's her again. Okay.
Hello. Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes?
I forgot her voice, but we're gonna make one up. Hello. She was at the end of the last case, right? I believe. Wait. Aren't you...
Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
I'm sure it's the same girl. Yeah, I think so too. Mrs. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case.
The King of Bohemia?
King Wilhelm Gostreich Sigismund von Ormstein, of course.
I hope I pronounced that even partially correct. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you.
I knew it. Sasada-san recognizes her too. Ah, there you are.
And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. Of course it is.
I I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Who are you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London?
Oh, yes. It was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color?
Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance?
Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, Shirley?
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes's suite?
Oh, silly me. I haven't introduced myself, have I? All right.
It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson.
Is this the Wilson in the story? Isn't it his assistant or something?
I live here together with Hurley.
Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Suzada-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Suzada Mikutova. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Bruno. Got it. Susie?
And Bruno? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
All right, well, here we go, I guess. Iris. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey?
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry. We couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this?
Well,
thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Jenny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley?
Yes, Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the costs with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Alright, Wilson?
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I am a very great fan of the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Rant's magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness!
I get it, so she writes down his stories, right?
Last night he was telling me about all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came in. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course, I know that a snake might not be credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rant's magazine all written by me? Yes, on my very wonderful and modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
Susanna-san's getting more and more worked up.
Yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? Well, that's all true, too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? I suppose it does, yes.
Poor Susanna-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. Alright, your deductions just now. About before.
Yes, what's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean?
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that?
Oh, that's what you mean.
Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail.
Of course, I'd be delighted. Although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed the passport and traveling ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand.
You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today.
Ah.
They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see.
I didn't realize.
And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even if you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see.
But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow?
Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been...
Mr. Natsume.
Now Bruno has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. She's very smart. There is a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. They're in shock. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You'd even managed the certain something of Mr. Sholmes's delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that.
This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris, please?
All right, so let's hear about it. The case of the Japanese man. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes.
Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man.
Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. So Seki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all.
Harley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking stooped man shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He is a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Harley says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's a harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold up much hope for Sasaki-san. Alright. Do we have anything else? Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. Whoops. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Ah, well, I expect Harley is still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume. Harley said he was going to the man's lodgings.
And now your skin is glowing from all the fluids, yep.
If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Ah, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems.
Alright, so we have a card for Inspector Gregson with a message on back from Iris. It's been entered into the court record.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Alright, so now we can get some information, I suppose.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Man. And I'll be making more special beans of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris.
Alright.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime.
She's so excited about it. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in my hand. Alright. Well, to be continued. I am super curious, like, where this is gonna go. Like, what is the case gonna look like here? I'm very curious how the trial is going to run. It's gonna be interesting. But we will find that out in the next episode when we return to the crime scene and see what information we can get. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/thehour27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games I'll be playing each day, I post them on twitter.com/thehour27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.